Welcome you all. Today we will discuss about the autonomy of central bank. We know that one of the important issue that we have faced in the last few years were regarding the discussions on the central bank autonomy. In India, we know that there was some point of arguments between or point of differences between the government of India and RBI with respect to certain factors, certain important aspects, and this led to a great discussions on this topic. In this section, we are going to discuss about the central bank autonomy and its various aspects. Firstly, what is central bank autonomy? The central bank autonomy means the how far the central banks can carry out their function independent of executive and judiciary, that is without government interference. Or it is the freedom of monetary policy makers, that is the central bank. Central banks are the monetary policy makers in majority of the countries from the direct political or government influence, that the freedom to frame out the monetary policy with respect to monetary policy in an economy. When we discuss about the central bank autonomy or central bank independence, we can see the three areas in which this independence can be observed. They are personal matters, financial aspects, and the conduct of policy. Personal independence refers to the extent to which government distances itself from the appointment, terms of office, dismissal procedures of top central bank official and the governing body. That is, it is with respect to the nature and extent of representation of government in governing body of the central bank. That is with respect to the appointment, term of office, dismissal procedure of central bank officials. That is their representation. How far is the representation of government in the governing body? That is the that represents the personal independence. Second one is financial independence. It is the freedom of central bank to decide the extent to which the government expenditure is either directly or indirectly financed by the central bank. The extent of financing of government expenditure by the central bank is the second aspect of the financial independence. And the central bank can decide the if the central bank can make decision regarding this, then we can say that there exists financial independence. The third one is policy independence. It is related to the flexibility given to the central bank in the formation and execution of monetary policy. That is, it is with respect to the formation and the execution of monetary policy. These are the three important aspects of central bank autonomy. That is personal, the extent to which the representation of government in the governing body. Second one is how far the central bank has the independence in discussing the or in deciding the financial expenditure of the government. This is referred as the financial aspect independence. Third one is policy independence. This is with respect to the formulation and the execution of monetary policy. These are the three important aspects of the central bank autonomy. So there exist different types, or the studies have defined the types of autonomy in different categories. And in this section, some of the popular types of autonomy are explained. There exist autonomy like goal autonomy, target autonomy, instrument autonomy, and limited autonomy. Let us see what is these types of autonomy. The first one is goal autonomy. It is the responsibility for determining the monetary policy and exchange rate policy. That is, the central banks will be given the full autonomy in deciding the primary objective of that central bank. That is, especially with respect to the monetary and the exchange rate. How far or what is the extent of this decision making is explained through the goal autonomy. That is, with respect to the goal, or how far the independence or autonomy is observed in setting the goal of the central bank is explained as the goal autonomy. And the second one is target autonomy. So this target autonomy means that how we can target one specific or important objective of that monetary policy. How we can target one or important objective of central bank is explained through the target autonomy. If we have, or if the central bank has the power or they have the responsibility in deciding the prime target of the central bank, then we can say there is target autonomy. It enables the central bank to decide the specific target for achieving the primary objective. And third one is instrument autonomy. This instrument autonomy means how far the central bank can retain the authority in implementing the monetary policy target using different instruments. That is, here how far we can implement the monetary policy, how far the central bank can you implement the monetary policy using the instrument is explained through the instrument autonomy. If the central bank has the full power, then we can say there is instrument autonomy. And another important one is the limited or no autonomy. Limited or no autonomy means that central bank is almost like a government agency. The government determines the policy as well as influences the implementation. This is the case of limited or no autonomy. In this case, the central bank decides, or central bank is like a government agency, or it acts as an agent of the government. And this limited or no autonomy can be seen in the case of a centrally planned economy, etc. And in this, goal and targeted autonomies have the stronger degree of autonomy, and this especially in a majority of these studies, this autonomy is described as the central bank autonomy, or this is one of the important criteria that explains the extent of autonomy of the central bank. In this section, we want to see how we can measure the central bank independence. We have seen various aspects as well as different types of the autonomy, how we can measure these central bank independence. And different studies have used different measures for measuring the central bank independence, and it is very difficult to measure the independence also, because this depends upon so many formal as well as informal factors, country specific factors, etc. And some of the studies have used various score method, index methods, etc. to measure the central bank autonomy. And in some of the important studies, the economists have used various measures for measuring the independence of the central bank. In a study by the Santiago Fernandez, in his study Classification of Central Bank by Autonomy, a comparative analysis has given these types of measures as a for measuring the, or as a measuring factor for the central bank independence. They are formal dependence of the central bank, formal assignment of responsibility to develop monetary policy, formal assignment of responsibility to implement monetary policy, provision for resolution of conflict, statutory objective, democratic accountability and supervision of monetary policy, mechanism for reforms of legislation governing the central bank, composition of governing body, election of top official, mandates of top official, removal of candidates, etc. are some of the measures used by him in his study to measure the central bank independence. In addition to that, in a recent IMF study, they have used various measures for measuring the or various factors for measuring the central bank autonomy. They defined the political autonomy, the economic autonomy, etc. in that study. And some of the measures used for measuring the political autonomy is the ability of central bank to select the final objectives of monetary policy. Or the governor is appointed without government involvement, governor is appointed for more than 5 years, board of directors is appointed without government involvement, board of directors is appointed for more than 5 years. These are some of the important measures used by that study for measuring the political economy. And like that, they have used various measures or the factors for measuring the economic autonomy also. This economic autonomy is the operational autonomy, and the measures or the factors used for measuring the economic autonomy are automatic procedure for government to obtain direct credit from the central bank. When available, direct credit facilities are extended to the government at the market interest rate. There is the credit is temporary. Then The central bank doesn't participate in the primary market for public debt. Central bank is responsible setting the policy rate, etc. Some of the measures used for the measuring of the economic autonomy of the for measuring the economic autonomy of the central bank. These are the various methods used for measuring the central bank independence or central bank autonomy. Still, studies are going on to measure the central bank autonomy. Now let us discuss some aspects of the central bank autonomy of India. Some aspects with respect to the autonomy of central bank in India, that is RBI autonomy. And in some of the important studies, we could see that the autonomy of RBI is divided into various phases, or the relationship between the government and RBI are broadly divided into different phases. In an important study by the Y.B. Reddy, he has classified the relationship between the government and RBI mainly into 4 phases. The first phase starts from the introduction of the RBI. We know that the legislation to set up RBI was introduced in January 1927, but enactment was in March 1934, and it was privately owned and managed entity when it was started in the year April 1st, 1935. In the preamble of the Act gives focused on monetary stability, operations on currency and credit system in India. During this period, or in the initial phase, RBI was virtually subservient to the dictates of the government, and measures were taken to curb its capacity for independent action. But during this period, also we could see shortly after independence in 1947, RBI was nationalized in 1948. And in the early years, we could see a good degree of fiscal rectitude and harmony in monetary and fiscal policy, with areas of potential conflict being minimal. And the rate of inflation was modest compared to other developing economies. And the RBI was vigorously involved in promoting the institutionalization of credit to agriculture and industry, in pursuant to the 5-year plan, objectives of the 5-year plan. And we could see that monetary or fiscal policy was in harmony. During this period also we could see some differences of opinion, especially with respect to the substitution of financial planning by kind of physical planning. And then second one is with respect to the financing of the cooperative and pattern of organization of lending agencies. And third one, due to the differences of opinion that led to the resignation of the Governor Ram Rao in 1957. During this period also we could see some sorts of the conflict of idea between the central government as well as the RBI. And the second phase starts from the nationalization till the second phase starts from the nationalization of RBI till the nationalization of major commercial bank. Here, during this period, there was some conflict of idea with respect to the creation of ad hoc treasury bills in favor of RBI. And during this period, the major reasons for the conflict between during this phase, the major reasons for the conflict between the RBI and the government of India was with respect to the creation of ad hoc treasury bill. It starts with the nationalization of major commercial banks. Here we could see that nationalization of major commercial bank, the government became the owner of the bank, and the supervision rests with the RBI. And there was some confusion with respect to these two types of management, that is the government ownership and with respect to the supervision by the RBI. During this period also there was some difference of opinion with respect to the interest rate. And the fourth phase starts with the liberalization process, that is from 1990-91. We could see that during this period a lot of changes happened in the monetary policy reform in majority of the economies. In India also we have introduced so many changes in the monetary policy resolutions, and during this period our government has stopped or abolished the ad hoc treasury bill. We adopted the fiscal responsibility budget management legislation, which aims at midterm management of the fiscal deficit. This is to the major objective was to impose fiscal discipline on government spending and ensure a transparent and accountable fiscal deficit. Then there was implementation of the international financial standard codes. Another important factor is that in the budget speech of February 2000, the finance minister noted that in the fast changing world of modern finance, it has become necessary to accord great operational flexibility to RBI for the conduct of monetary policy and the regulation of financial system. Accordingly, he intended to bring to the parliament proposal for amending the relevant legislations with respect to this. These three important things happened during this period. Apart from this, we have seen certain other changes or other area of conflict between the RBI or differences of opinion between the RBI and the government, especially with respect to the transfer of surplus resources. Second one is with respect to the determination or lowering down of the capital adequacy ratio. The Reserve Bank of India was not in favor of lowering the capital adequacy ratio. Third one is with respect to the using of the prompt corrective action for the various banks. Third one is with respect to the and another one is with respect to the liquidity shortage faced by the non-banking financial companies. On October 2018, the Ministry of Finance, Government of India moved to invoke the Section 7 of the RBI Act, and the Section 7 gives the powers to government to seek consultation with the RBI. If necessary, the government may issue certain binding orders on the RBI in public interest. Despite keeping its existence in RBI Act, this section has never posed any threat to the RBI autonomy earlier, as it has never been invoked even during this period. Or in October 2008, government decided to invoke Section 7 of the RBI Act. And we know that another important area of conflict between the Government of India and RBI is with respect to the sharing of the surplus. Every year, Central Bank transfers the balance of its profits to its owner, to the government, as per the RBI Act. After making provision for bad or doubtful debt, there was no such fixed benchmark for the transfer for the surplus profit. Before every union budget, the government and the RBI discuss the surplus amount. The government then puts its surplus expectation in the budget, while RBI announces the actual amount in August after making the calculation. This was the procedure that was going on till this period. The income that generates the income of RBI arises from the financial asset it buys from the domestic and foreign bonds, and it gets interest for the financial asset that it buys from the domestic and foreign market. This interest is the income of the RBI. The RBI transferred highest ever surplus in the year 2014-15, that is nearly 65,896 crores was handed over to the government in the year 2014-15. In 2016-17, the RBI surplus transfer dropped down to 30,659 crores against a budgeted estimate of 58,000 crores. It is due to the post demonetization. In 2017-18, 50,000 crore surplus was also transferred. In financial year 2008, the government was reportedly putting the pressure on the RBI to give them an addition of 13 crores. And the RBI transferred 10,000 crores as an interim dividend to the March but this transfer amount was part of 50,000 crores surplus transferred announced in the financial year 2018. That is, here the conflict was with respect to the transfer of surplus resources. The surplus resources are from the interest that they gained from the buying of government, from the buying of the bonds from the domestic and foreign market, and the surplus amount usually transferred to the government. And there was no fixed criteria for transferring the resources. The government announces it, and the RBI decides it in the August. Here, during this period, the government argued for more funds, and that created some conflict between the central bank and the RBI. This is with respect to the surplus fund. With respect to the issue regarding the surplus fund of RBI, that is, in the recent years there was some conflict between this surplus fund, sharing of surplus fund, then section 7, then prompt corrective action, then capital risk capital adequacy ratio, then relaxing norms for the prompt corrective action, etc. RBI, in consultation with the Government of India, has constituted an expert committee to review the extent of economic capital framework of Reserve Bank of India under the chairmanship of Vimal Jalan. The committee has since submitted its reports to the government on August 2019, and the surplus they have given in this report about the surplus distribution policy. The committee has recommended a surplus distribution policy which targets the level of realized equity to be maintained by the RBI within the overall level of its economic capital, where with the earlier policy which targeted the total economic capital level alone. If the realized equity is above its requirement, then the entire net income be transferable to the government. If it is below the lower bound of requirement, the risk provisioning will be made to the extent necessary, and only the residual income transfers to the government within the range of the Central Board of Reserve Bank of India decided to transfer a sum of 1,76,051 crores to the Government of India, comprising of 1,23,400 crores of surplus for the year 2018-19 and 52,637 crores of excess provision identified as per the revised economic capital framework adopted at the meeting of the Central Board on August 26, 2019. This is about the central bank autonomy or Reserve Bank autonomy. Here we have discussed about the various aspects of the autonomy, various types of the autonomy, various measures of the autonomy, and the extent of autonomy or the independence of the autonomy of the Reserve Bank of India. And finally, we discussed the some of the current issues that were relevant with respect to the central bank autonomy in India.